That was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Be
forward.
like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
I remember vividly I was talking to friends of mine and telling them what happened to me, and it became like a joke because they laughed. And I was like, from now I'm never going to tell anybody what happened to me.
I just felt like this was all my fault. I had agreed to date him, and who was I going to tell? Who was going to believe that something like this had actually happened to me? Who was going to believe I was sexually assaulted? Because people would just say, but you were not raped, so you are fine. But I wasn't.
He damaged my life. He damaged me physically, but I survived. It felt like this whole sexual assault just ruined my whole life.
My name is Boyiswa Angelina Nsadu. I'm 46 years old. I'm a mother of 4. I'm an HIV counselor, and I'm also a rape survivor.
My name is Fumana Nhlonhlo. I'm 37 years old. I'm a rape survivor. I'm also a matronist.
I'm 49 years old. I am a rape survivor.
My name is Chipo Wacha. I am 23, and I'm a rape survivor.
In 2010, I was sexually assaulted by an employee that I traveled with. I made a case at work. He was found guilty of sexual harassment. However, the outcome was that he should be taught how to treat women. I was depressed. I had major post-traumatic stress disorder. I wanted to die because I feel I couldn't survive this as a mother of 2 boys, being married for 18 years. However, I had to cope with this because I couldn't give up on my children and on my marriage. And I knew that there was a special purpose and plan why I'm on this earth. I had a court case which was cancelled every time, postponed. Eventually, when it was, the lady that prepped me for this case was not available. The person who was available, the prosecutor, didn't know anything about my case. My case was over in 20 minutes. I never told my story in court. I then decided that this was so unfair towards me. I sent a request through to the MPA to help me with my case because I felt like he couldn't get away with this. He did it to previous women, and I felt degraded and I felt horrible that I have to suffer because of what he did to me. We eventually, as a family, lost everything we had. We had nowhere to go. I was basically homeless, while he's living a luxury life. It felt like this whole sexual assault just ruined my whole life. It's only now that I'm recovering. 2 years ago, 2014, I actually had cancer because I was so angry and stressed out. I had anxiety attacks, and I developed cancer. I had a mastectomy. I also had radiation for 35 days in and out of Tygerberg Hospital. I couldn't go to a normal hospital. I had to be happy with going to a clinic, sitting there every day in and out. I had chemotherapy, and it's only now that I can feel that I'm recovering from all of this, although my cases hasn't been dealt with properly because of the courts that has failed me. I still feel that I won't give up. I will keep on fighting, because if I am fighting, I'm not only fighting for myself, I'm also fighting for the next person who might be going through the same thing.
I know I was raped and I got over it. I opened a case, as Masha said, that the justice is failing us. I opened a case. The incident happened in Eastern Cape, but I opened a case here in Western Cape. After a year, the detectives from Eastern Cape came to Western Cape to take my statement. After a year in opening the case, they took the statement and then I waited. After another year, they phoned me from Eastern Cape telling me that the prosecutor said that there's not enough evidence in my case, so the case is closed. Then I asked him, what kind of evidence do you need? And he said, I don't know. That was it. I told myself that I'm not going to drain myself because I've been draining myself, trying to prove myself to everyone. Now I'm tired of doing that. I need to prove myself to me. I need to take my power, my strength, my dignity, my love, everything, which is I've got now. Everything that I wanted, which is for me to be happy.
Being married 18 years, obviously communication is the most important in my marriage. When this happened, I didn't know how I was going to tell my husband. And I know my husband would just kill this man. And it took me very long before I told my husband, about a month. And I just had to block this out of my head. No one must know anything. But because also the perpetrator, he also threatened me. And he offered me money, things like that. And I realized that I'm really in a bad situation. Eventually, I told my husband. I spoke to people at work, at the HR department. And most importantly, although it took about 2-3 years, I felt I had to speak to my boys about this so they can understand what it does to a woman if anything of this kind happened to a woman, even just trying to kiss a girl. It's really hard to understand what effect it has on a woman. And I had to teach and train my boys. It's not something that I would ever wanted to go through. But it happened, and I had to cope as well as I could with it. So for me, talking to my husband was very important because I was dead. Really dead to my husband, and he didn't deserve that. My parents, they were never there for me as I grew up as a child. My parents were always fighting, so I could never go to them with anything. And my husband is my support, and my children is my support, and they were the ones that could help me. If I had to vent, I could vent with my husband and tell him how I feel. As hard as it was, there are always things that you don't tell your family, but you can still go and speak to a higher power. I believe that during this time I would switch on my radio, listen to music to calm me down, and obviously pray and hope and trust and believe that I will get better. So that was my communication.
For me, I would say I never had anyone to talk to. Since I was keeping all this pain, the hurt, I couldn't talk to my mother because by the time I went to rape crisis, going through my counseling, that was a time when there was like my brother's case going on, and my mother didn't believe that my brother would rape my stepsister. And I come in and say, do you remember so-and-so that he hurt me? Was like, it's not going to help me right now, because my mom at that time, she was like in the 60s. And the only time where I felt like I got support was where I worked. That was like, for me, I had kind of have to build myself like a support system, because I could feel myself like, right now I'm falling apart. I am this mother of 4 girls, and I need to be strong. But now this mother of 4 girls are now completely like falling apart. And I can't talk to my mom because my mother wouldn't understand, because she believes that her own son won't rape anyone.
But the thing is, mostly in African families, these things are not discussed. We don't talk about them. I never had a conversation with my parents or even my little brother. He knows what happened, but he has never asked me about it. My parents have never asked how I am, how I'm feeling, how I dealt with everything. Even when I got depressed, I felt I couldn't even show it. I would just be this happy person when I got home from work, because I had to shield myself, I think, in a way, from whatever was going to be said. But I think this is something that should be talked about, that should be discussed, because when you go through something like this and you want someone to talk to, your family is who you turn to. But yes, as I said, there's this whole cultural thing where you do not talk about it. It has happened, you're dealing with it, but you do not bring it up.
Forgiveness was very, very hard. When I was walking, wherever I was walking in a mall or having coffee with friends, I was always looking for the same kind of person that looked like him. In every man that I saw, I wanted to see him, because I wanted to tell them who they are. And for me, telling them who they are was nothing but a perpetrator, a horrible person. He is scum of the earth. I wanted to tell him exactly what I felt about him, what a devious, spineless creep he is. But I also knew deep within me, I had to let go. I let go of my anger. I had to deal with everything that I went through, and I had to take my power back. And I know right now he doesn't have any power, because he's sitting with all the guilt. He has to deal with all the guilt, and I know he's taking the guilt. He's actually like an alcoholic. He drinks every day because he doesn't know how to cope with the guilt. But I'm free because he's not my hero.
No.
I am the hero of my story.
Yes.
My dream is to impact someone's life out there who's in need of advice, financial advice, who needs help with children, guiding them. I want to impact your life.